Welcome to a quick discussion of the Sonic Adventure 2 Randomizer. February 2022 marks the 20th anniversary of the GameCube version of Sonic Adventure 2 Battle in North America, so I wanted to do something to celebrate. Because I've already done 2 playthroughs of the game on my channel, I decided to show off the Randomizer instead. As you can tell, stuff is already randomized and we haven't even gotten into a level. The music and the voices are already randomized. And to further demonstrate this, we're jumping into the beginning of the hero story.
I know that people fight over the most trivial things. Some people may be selfish, like the professor said.
Now give me back those jewels.
What stage are we going to play?
I'm out of here.
There aren't many trees in this garden. Make sure you collect seeds on your walks. Now, let me tell you how to care for your chow. This is the end of the Chow Garden tutorial. But it's important to remember
So we have jumped into City Escape with a Chow Walker. So, in addition to the voices and music, the characters chosen for each stage are also randomized. This is definitely one of the more unique combinations because the Chow Walker is a multiplayer character. So you can get all of the main characters and the multiplayer characters, but there are also several characters that have actually been modded in. I hope we get to see some of those in this video, but if not, I'll go over them later on. In general, I feel like the Sonic Adventure 2 Randomizer is a lot of fun. It can be very chaotic and hectic, especially if you get characters that are not well suited for specific stages, and the story itself can be kind of a mess, obviously. You actually can choose whether you want the stages to play in order if you want like everything in the story to be randomized. So for example, this is the setting where basically everything plays out as intended, but the dialogue and music and character selection is scrambled. By default, it actually will pick a random cutscenes and random stages, but I actually don't like that as much because sometimes a ton of scenes will play in a row, and it'll take a very long time to actually get into a stage. So actually sticking with the normal story progression I actually think is a lot better, because you'll more quickly go between levels without as much story, and it's a little bit easier to follow if the story is playing out in the intended order, albeit with very randomized elements to it. Certain stages were definitely not meant for specific characters, hence why the camera was not cooperating. So I have an idea of how to get through that, and I don't know if this will work or not. If this doesn't work, I'll just jump to another stage. One interesting thing is the levels themselves have actually been altered slightly to be more playable with each character type. So I feel like in general the mech characters end up having the most stage alterations just because of how different their gameplay style is compared to the treasure hunting characters who fundamentally play fairly similarly to the speed characters outside of being able to climb and like dig for items. But yeah, the mech characters, because of their difference in like speed and abilities, have to have a lot of stage changes. For example, you usually can't roll under that fence with anyone except speed characters, so they have to put that rocket there for the treasure hunting and mech characters to get past that. From a technical standpoint, it's actually really impressive how much has actually been changed to make these stages playable for all of these different character types. And with that, we have reached the end of City Escape. I did pick up a Chow key because the Chow Garden is actually really interesting in the randomizer.
Updating the database.
Normally, when you finish a stage with the Chow key, you'll go to the Chow Garden with the character you finished this, you collected the key with. In the randomizer, you'll basically get any character when entering the Chow Garden, even after collecting the Chow key. So here's an example of a sort of modded character. This is Eggman, who is normally playable outside of his mech in the Chow Garden. But instead of his normal outfit, he is dressed like Sonic, which is really great. I wish we had gotten this for City Escape, actually, because seeing Eggman in this costume running away from the gun truck is really entertaining. Beyond that, the Chow Garden itself is actually kind of interesting. You notice that there are 2 eggs in the Chow Garden, which is normal, but one is currently cycling between colors. That one is very special. This one is also kind of special, even though it looks more standard. So let's hatch both of these. Also, by the way, every time Eggman does anything outside of his mech, a sound plays, and thus it actually will pick a random sound every time. So we have this Chow here that is not a newborn Chow. It has a lot of points in running, in stamina and swim and fly. Power is its weakest stat though. This is the one from the normal looking Chow egg. You might notice that the one from the flashing Chow egg is currently zooming all over the place. This one has ridiculous stats. Every time you play the randomizer, there will be one Chow in a flashing egg. They actually toned it down in more recent updates. It used to basically strobe, and I'm really glad they actually toned that down. But you'll always have one Chow that has ridiculously high stats in basically everything. This one can basically clear any race or Chow karate stage, no problem. I'm actually not sure if you can actually get the achievements like on Steam using modded Chow. Yeah, I'm not actually sure if that's the case. So instead of continuing the story, I actually want to head over to the stage select. When you load up the randomizer, one cool feature is there's a save file at all times that has everything unlocked. So all 180 emblems and all A ranks. So that means the super secret bonus stage Green Hill is unlocked. And we're playing this as Metal Sonic. So for the multiplayer characters, they've actually been altered slightly to have moves that they normally would not have. So for example, Metal Sonic normally wouldn't have many abilities, but he'd have this little shield that would guard him from special moves and other attacks. But for the sake of being able to complete everything, Metal Sonic has been given like the Flame Ring and I think the Light Dash. I'm not sure if he normally has that in multiplayer. So yeah, basically every stage in theory should be able to be completed by every character, just some might have a much harder time. And sometimes you have the camera not cooperating, which in this case we're playing a speed character in this level, so I kind of feel like that's just an SA2 problem, not even a mod problem. Even beyond just the randomizer itself, to actually load up this mod, you need something called the SA2 mod loader. Which is actually really cool, even if you're not trying to do anything more elaborate, because it actually comes with several bonuses that are really cool, like even the ability to change elements of the main game that are good for quality of life. I was really thrown off because random sound effects were playing whenever Metal Sonic would start moving. I forgot that there was a sound effect for that, and that it would actually be something that would randomize.
Enter your ID and password.
Another interesting thing that's actually been randomized is the driving stages.
What? A ghost?
So we're playing as the Chow, which is an unlockable driver in the kart racing mode. But yeah, the mod loader is actually really cool. There are a ton of different features to it, like being able to actually switch to the SA1 style of Emerald Radar, where you can basically find all 3 emerald pieces at once instead of basically having the radar only respond when you're actively searching for the one that's like next in the rotation. So yeah, even if you're not interested in trying out like weird mods like this or playing as different characters, it's still kind of worth checking out the mod loader, even if you want to just play Sonic Adventure 2 somewhat unmodded, because there are several things that are just like good to have, even if they're technically like mods. Same kind of applies to Sonic Adventure 1, where people kind of recommend, just if you have the PC version, just using mods just for the best possible experience, even if you're not like you know, going wild with all the different possibilities of each mod. It's just nice to have some of the basic improvements. Also, the stages are modded, in addition to just driving as a different character than intended. Yeah, the whole layout of this whole highway is different, and sometimes can be very difficult to complete, depending on how many like pits that the stage ends up with. So there's Tails, so that was actually a really easy variant of Route 280. I've definitely struggled with a few of the randomized versions of these stages with a lot of pits and things like that.
Collision.
Next up, I think I want to head over to a treasure hunting stage. So let's go with Wild Canyon. Wild Canyon as the robot from Sonic Advance 3. I don't remember the name of this robot, honestly, because there are 2 robots. There's one in Sonic Battle. I think one is like Emerald and one is like Gemerald or something like that. I don't remember which one is which. But yeah, this is an example of one of the modded characters. They're basically modded over Metal Sonic. The treasure hunting stages have also been changed considerably, because obviously we can't dig, for example, so any emerald pieces underground have been taken out of the pool of possible emerald shards to find, unless you're playing as a treasure hunting character. And yeah, so you're kind of limited to the amount of pieces you can actually find, just because a lot of them would be unobtainable, especially if you get like Tails or Eggman outside of their mech. That would be very difficult to actually find everything with one of those characters. Yeah, the amount of characters that are added is quite high, actually, including non-Sonic characters, which is really impressive. For example, I have seen Mario as a playable character over Sonic. So he basically has Sonic's moveset, but he looks like Mario from Mario 64. There's the last emerald piece. This one's kind of a doozy, to be honest, because it's like spinning around the pillar. So I'm not entirely sure how to collect this. We'll give it a try here. Wario is also playable instead of Knuckles. And Yoshi is also an option in terms of Mario characters. But most of the modded characters are Sonic, like Silver and Chet the Hawk, and a bunch of others. Cream the Rabbit. It's actually an interesting one.
This door looks different.
If I'm not mistaken, the sensor beep sound that keeps playing, I think that wasn't actually in the original game, but it was basically added in, and it was a good choice because it's actually really fun. Alright, next up, let's head over to a mech stage. Let's go with Hidden Base. Well, this is just the normal stage, so let's try this again.
You.
well, that's a little different, I guess. We have Tails without his mech, so this will be fun. So yeah, Cream the Rabbit is probably one of the more interesting characters because she either has a mech, like Tails, but she can also be played outside of her mech, and actually has like custom animations. So yeah, a lot of the modded characters do have custom animations. So in addition to just them playing like standard characters, they do actually look distinct in terms of how they move. Tails is interesting because like Eggman, every time he does any sort of action, a voice line plays, so there's going to be a little bit of sensory overload as we go through the stage, and like every voice line plays. I really like the custom voice lines to some extent because a lot of lines that play are kind of obscure. It basically pulls from any possible line. You can actually narrow it down, I think, by character if you want. I like the pure random just because you get to hear things you wouldn't normally hear in this game. Like even voice lines from the little recap screens, like when you quit out of the game and reload a file, you have the little screens of the character you're currently playing as, like narrating what's currently happening in the story. And like, I feel like no one has really heard all of those. I know I haven't, because normally I'd play the game straight through, and I wouldn't really like pause and quit out of the game every time just to hear each narration. So yeah, having all of these lines in the game is actually really cool. I feel like I've even heard like beta lines, like beta voice clips that didn't actually make it into the final game. And like musically also, a lot of the songs that play are kind of obscure, like a lot of the Chao Garden music I feel like I haven't really heard that much. Tails in Sonic Adventure 2 is not great, to be honest, because his vertical height, like his vertical flight is actually limited, so he can basically only fly horizontally. I wonder if there's a mod for that. With how many character mods there are, I'm sure that's an option. My favorite character mod actually is the Goose from Untitled Goose Game, who actually has a super form. So I've actually had cases where the game tends to crash, unfortunately, with like the Goose. So I was trying to play the final battle once with like the super form of the Goose, but it kept crashing, sadly. And yeah, you can actually also play as Super Shadow and Super Sonic too. So yeah, in general, this mod is like really impressive. And I'm almost amazed it doesn't crash more, if I'm being honest, with how much is going on in some of these stages. Frankly, just loading all these voice lines you'd think would also put a lot of strain on the game, and loading everything. Yeah, it's definitely kind of weird listening to the game as like every voice line is playing all at once. It's definitely an experience, but that normally doesn't happen unless you're playing a character like Tails or Eggman, or any of the characters that are modded in that would normally use a mech.
Let me see your true power.
Use your kick to break it.
So that was a quick look at the Sonic Adventure 2 Randomizer. If you have the Steam version of the game, I would recommend trying it, or at the very least trying the mod loader, because of some of the additional features of that can kind of make the overall main game a lot more enjoyable. The Sonic modding community in general is very, very ambitious. There are even characters that have been added into the game that aren't included in the randomizer, with like custom animations and such, like Blaze the Cat. And there are a ton of other cool additions, like a character select. So if you want to play random characters in stages but don't want it to be random, there is a specific character selection mod where you can basically play every stage with whoever you want. So yeah, the modding scene for SA2 has only taken off recently, I feel. Like, it's been around for the last few years, but obviously these games are harder to mod than something like a Genesis game. So I am excited to see what the future holds for SA2 modding. But with that being said, I think that about covers all of my thoughts on the Sonic Adventure 2 Randomizer. So thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time for another discussion.